Good morning, Thailand. My name is Alex, and I have some news updates from around the land of smiles for you today from the Thaiger this Thursday, June 13th. And we're going to start with our first story today, where a man has admitted to paying a young girl to drink alcohol, causing her to slip into a coma. Now, a man, Jetsada, has surrendered to the authorities after admitting to paying a young girl to drink alcohol at an ordination ceremony, causing her to fall into a coma. Jetsada, 26, confessed to giving the money to a 13-year-old boy and girl to drink liquor, claiming they had offered to do so for money. He faces charges under the child protection laws, which could result in up to 3 months in jail and/or a fine of up to 30,000 baht. The girl, who initially collapsed and was hospitalized, has regained consciousness. Local authorities are launching a campaign to raise awareness of the dangers of alcohol consumption, especially for youth. But yeah, 13 years old? Like, I don't care what you say. Like, this guy's saying, like, oh, they consented. They're 13 years old. They cannot consent to that. It's illegal for them to consume. And moreover, he agreed to pay them for it. I mean, this is such a strange story. And the fact that this girl slipped into a coma, now she's recovered. She's fine. So I guess the danger has been averted for now. But what the, what? Like, who could possibly think this is a good idea? So in my mind, especially seeing the punishments don't seem that dangerous, especially because he really endangered this girl. I hope they throw the book at him. I don't know. 30,000 baht fine for slipping a girl into a coma seems a bit light. But anyways, hopefully he's learned from that mistake. And yeah, keep the booze out of the hands of children. What am I doing? Yeah, Will says, Mojo says, was it ethanol? Look, they're kids, man. I don't think it takes much. Between the body weight and the lack of experience in drinking, no way they could have been prepared for it. And yeah, good thing that this girl is safe in the end. Yeah, Will says, if a Farang does that, life sentence, well, I don't know. I'd be surprised, man. Some people get away with some crazy things out here. Anyways, let's move on to our next story, which is a bit of a brawl. So you're going to see some interesting images coming up next as Chinese men attack a Thai waiter, slashing his arm. Now, a young waiter in Nakhon, Chon Buri province was attacked by a group of Chinese men, jeopardizing his dreams of becoming a soldier. The incident, captured on social media, occurred at a local restaurant where the attackers slashed the waiter's arm. Witnesses reported that the trouble began when one of the Chinese men dragged the waiter towards the restroom and escalated over a disputed bill. 8 Chinese men were involved, 4 of whom launched the attack, while 4 waited outside. Despite attempts to protect the waiter, one attacker managed to inflict a severe injury. Police are investigating the incident, with the community calling for justice for the young waiter. Yeah. Come on, what is up with everybody throwing fists over disputed bills? You know what I mean? God damn. Like, if you got a problem with the bill, just slap it on the credit card, dispute it later. No need to start throwing chairs and slashing people, okay? So, Chinese tourists, obviously, like, one of the big things that Chinese tourists do is they're big partiers, man. There's a lot of drinking and alcohol involved. If you've ever been to a Chinese dinner party, you've heard the word ganbei a lot. Ganbei translates to dry glass. That means every time you take a drink, you gotta down the whole thing. So binge drinking is a big thing for Chinese culture, and it can lead to escalated situations like this. The poor guy, overwhelmed by 4 people, right? He's just trying to do his job. Hey, you bought a lot of stuff. Pay me my bill. And then, yeah, now he needs stitches. He's got a severe arm injury. Not okay, all right? So hopefully these guys will be deported and not be allowed back into the kingdom. Disgusting. Yeah, Mojo says, who brings an effing knife to a restaurant in a foreign country? I mean, they might have had the knife there. I'm not sure what the story was, but yeah, too much Chang, says Jared G. I think you might be on to something there, like I said. Obviously, there's a very alcohol-fueled incidents, and doesn't excuse things, right? If you can't handle your booze, don't drink it. All right. Now, let's get on to the next story. So, move a little bit lighter, a break. We're taking a weather break, all right? Everybody likes to talk about the weather. And Thailand has a weather alert coming up. Thunderstorms and heavy rain are coming to 30 provinces across the kingdom. Now, the Thai Meteorological Department has issued a weather alert for 30 provinces, forecasting thunderstorms and heavy rain. Bangkok is expected to have rain in 40% of its area, and a moderate southwest monsoon is affecting the Andaman Sea Thailand, and the Gulf of Thailand, causing heavy rain in northern and eastern regions. Residents are advised to be cautious of potential dangers from accumulated rainfall. Temperatures across various regions will range from 23 to 38 degrees Celsius, and the sea will experience waves of 1 to 3 meters, particularly in thunderstorm areas. So again, any small craft out there, be careful. 3-meter waves, like that's pretty insane. So make sure that you are in a port of safety, a harbor of safety, while those storms are coming in. And boy, oh boy, I hope you guys are ready. It's about that time. We're going to be seeing some flooded streets all across the land of smiles. So make sure to bring your umbrellas, your rain boots, your ponchos, whatever you need to do to stay dry. And yeah, if you've got a business on the first floor anywhere in Bangkok, might be a good time to invest in some sandbags, just in case. I've seen too many businesses ruin too much of their inventory or whatever because they weren't prepared for the flooding. So this happens every year in Thailand. You got to know what's coming, everybody, so be careful. Let's see. Will Rose says, fun fact, Bangkok has the lowest elevation in the world below sea level. Really? I thought that would have been an Amsterdam thing, but who knows? Global warming is going to be rough on us over here eventually. We'll see. Yes, you guys dispute that in the comments. I'm not sure about that one. You can fact check me. What else? And yeah, Hong Tong. Jesus Christ, Mojo. I don't even want to think about Hong Tong. I'm a Sang-som guy. All right, now moving on to our next story. I think you guys are going to like this one. We have some taxi justice. Now, a Thai commando takes a taxi driver for a ride after fare fraud fiasco. Now, a Thai commando officer, Lance Corporal Pubat, took to a taxi driver to Hua Kwang police station after discovering he was being overcharged with a modified meter. During the ride from Morchit bus station to Soi Pracha Utit 28, Pubat noticed the fare was unusually high. He confronted the driver, who eventually admitted to manipulating the meter to increase the fare, claiming he needed extra money to feed stray animals. Unconvinced, Pubat had the driver taken to the police station, where he was charged with attempted fraud. The taxi will be investigated for the modified meter by the Land Transport Department, and yeah, probably won't be driving a taxi for a little while. So I think this is an interesting story. I think we've all been ripped off by taxi drivers in Asia before, in Thailand. It happens. What's funny is that this guy admitted it once confronted, right? He could have doubled down and said, what are you talking about? It's just the meter. That's the fare. But this guy had the confidence of authority behind him and knew that he was in the right. So he was able to dispatch a little bit of justice for the rest of us who are constantly frustrated with the taxi situation here in Thailand. Yeah, it's especially, it's one thing to try and negotiate before I get into the taxi, right? Like you tell me you want 300 baht for a ride that usually costs 150. Fine, whatever. If it's that time of night and I need to get home, I'll agree to it. But at that point, I have consented to this altered fare. People altering their meters in order to do this, like that's sneaky, right? There's no consent for that. There's no, it's not a deal at that point. It's a ripoff. So yeah, like reporting this kind of news because hopefully it will curb other people's behavior and encourage people to call out that behavior when they see it. So yeah, we'll see. All right, cool. Now, moving on. Elliot says, Bangkok, just a meter above sea level. Well, we'll give it some time. Get some more beachfront property in Bangkok. All right, now I got a pretty harrowing tale for you guys coming up next. A man has been gored by a buffalo in Chon Buri and has been rushed to a hospital. Now, a buffalo caretaker in Chon Buri was critically injured after being gored by a buffalo and left undiscovered in an open field for hours. The attack is believed to have occurred the previous evening, and rescue workers found the man, around 50 years old, with multiple wounds from the buffalo's horns and no identification documents. He was rushed to the Chon Buri hospital for urgent treatment. Now, a local woman, Mu, who regularly saw him tending to the buffaloes at night, discovered him the next morning and called for help. The incident highlights the risks of tending to livestock alone at night and emphasizes the need for better safety measures. Horrifying stuff. Hopefully this guy will be okay. It's livestock, right? It's domesticated animals that we're used to being comfortable around. But at the end of the day, they're still animals. And big animals, strong animals that can do this to a man. Like, it still baffles me that the running of the bulls in Spain is still an accepted cultural practice, considering the amount of horrific videos that I've seen. Obviously, it's horrific for the bulls themselves. It's horrific for the people involved in them, too. I've seen people's, like, you know, way too violent to even describe here on YouTube. So, yeah, it's just important to recognize the dangers that we are not dealing with, you know, truly friendly domesticated animals. Sometimes they can become violent as well. Hopefully this man can recover. Hopefully we can find out who he is, because it seems like he was riding solo out there. Be careful, right? Be careful around big animals that may or may not have their wild instincts tamed. Yeah. Chai Boy says about the last story. So, modified meter, that is modified fraud. Agreed. Yeah. Annoying. I hated that story. That's why I came across that story at the last minute today. Just wanted to include it for you. Now, I have a fun story for us at the end. We have a miracle birth. A set of rare elephant twins has been born in the land of smiles. Now, in Thailand, a rare set of elephant twins were born to a 36-year-old Asian elephant named Jumjari at the Ayutthaya Elephant Palace and Royal Kraal on June 7th. The first calf, a 176-pound male, was born, followed by a 132-pound female 18 minutes later, surprising Jumjari and causing her to attack the second baby. Uh-oh. Caregivers intervened, with one mahout injured in the process. Jamjuri has since accepted her calves, who are being given supplemental milk. Elephant twins are extremely rare, making up only about 1% of births. The twins' father, a 29-year-old elephant named Siam, the birth highlights ongoing conservation challenges, with only 8,000 to 11,000 Asian elephants remaining in the wild due to deforestation, poaching, and human encroachment. Whoa, crazy. Can you imagine giving birth to a 136-pound bouncing baby girl? It's horrifying. I just can't even imagine. Does the elephant do it standing up? Does that 136 pounds just like plop onto the ground? Insane. Also insane to me, because those births are so rare, and of course in nature, having competing children, right, like ruins the chance of survival for both. So pretty interesting aspect of the story that the mother tried to attack the second born in order to probably increase the survival chance. It's so crazy how that's like biologically ingrained, right? You're ingrained to protect your children, but then it's also ingrained to, you know, get rid of one if that's going to harm the survivability of the other. Obviously, she's in captivity. Obviously, we can take care of both of those elephants. So I'm glad that she finally accepted that as her baby as well. But yeah, truly a shocking pregnancy. My God, twins. 136 first, and then the next one even heavier. I feel for you ladies. All right. Hey, good morning, Anil. Yeah, good morning, everybody. Now, that'll do it for our stories from Thailand, guys. Now I have some interesting stories from around ASEAN. Now, our next story involves a Vietnamese woman and the Philippines airport. So let's get into that one. Now, a disturbed Vietnamese woman undresses, roams naked at the departure area of a Philippines airport. Now, a distressed Vietnamese woman, Tu Trang Nguyen, caused a commotion at NAIA Terminal 3 on June 8th, 2024, when she undressed and roamed naked in the departure area. Scheduled to depart for Ho Chi Minh at 10:55 p.m. via Cebu Pacific, Nguyen began undressing at the departure island e-check-in counter. Airport police and staff quickly intervened to assist her in getting dressed. However, she was offloaded from her flight due to being deemed psychologically incapacitated by an immigration officer. After initially refusing to pay fines for overstaying, she was later allowed to depart for Hanoi the next day at 5 a.m. on Cebu Pacific Flight 5J744. You hate to see this kind of thing, right? Like, it's clearly somebody who's dealing with a mental episode, could be a psychotic break, something like that. So it's one of those things, especially when you're traveling in a country that is not your own, your support network and your infrastructure isn't there and available to support you. I'm glad that the officials and staff were able to help her out and get her on a flight back home the next day. But hopefully, always something that I talk about here in Asia, it's a problem everywhere. Mental health is not really discussed in a lot of traditional Asian cultures, and that needs to change because it is very much an aspect of our, it's what leads to self-harm. It's what leads to incidents like this that disturb the public. So it's much, much better to be preventative with these kinds of things. Seek help and find it before you snap, right? And something like this can happen. Fortunately, this is relatively harmless, but still concerning. And hopefully this girl can get the help that she needs. All right, moving on to our next story. So, Indonesian police arrest six suspected poachers over killing 26 endangered rhinos. Now, Indonesian authorities have arrested 6 suspects involved in an international poaching ring targeting the critically endangered Javan rhinoceros. Since 2018, the group used homemade firearms to kill at least 26 rhinos for their horns, which are highly sought after in traditional Chinese medicine and for ornaments. The arrest followed a joint operation by police and the Forestry and Environmental Ministry. One syndicate leader, Sunendi, was previously sentenced to 12 years in prison. About 80 mature Javan rhinos remain, mainly in Ujung Kulon National Park. The authorities are intensifying efforts to apprehend 8 other syndicate members and combat poaching, which poses a severe threat to the species. Good. Throw the book at him, throw him in jail. Like, this is insane to me. Like, it's such a limited resource. These rhinos, and, you know, obviously elephants are also targeted as well. But it's insane to me that there's still a demand for this in traditional Chinese medicine. Big deal in China when I lived there. Lots of counterfeit. One interesting aspect of these stories is that the market is flooded with counterfeits right now from positive organizations that are trying to devalue why you would want to even get rhino horns, right? It's basically the same material as your fingernails, right? So using that in traditional medicine is useless. Using it for an ornament is cruel. And yeah, it sucks that there's still so much money in this black market in order to incentivize people like this to go out and try and make a dime off of this animal cruelty. So yeah, absolutely disgusting. And I hope Indonesia makes an example out of them so that they can send a clear message that this is not acceptable. Other than that, though, I don't really know how to stop the demand is really the issue, right? As long as there's going to be money involved in this, it's going to be difficult to stop the supply. In any case, let's move on to our last story of the day, which will take us over to Malaysia and China's relationship with the country. Now, Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative has left Malaysia with what it's called a ghost island. Now, the Forest City project in Johor, Malaysia, an ambitious $100 billion development backed by China's Belt and Road Initiative, has turned into a ghost island. Initially attracting wealthy Chinese buyers, the development stalled due to financial woes of the main developer, Country Garden, and a cooling Chinese real estate market. The island, meant to become a bustling metropolis, remains largely incomplete, with only 30% finished projects. Properties have lost significant value, and the once thriving sales center is nearly deserted. The project's future hinges on both Malaysian political decisions and potential economic policies from an upcoming Chinese Communist Party in July. This happens everywhere that China is investing money these days, okay? So China's Belt and Road Initiative is kind of their soft power push, right? They're using their economic heft to create investment projects all around the world, right? It's like a new Silk Road going on. So they're putting tons of money into creating developments that end up just, you know, it creates Chinese jobs, right? They ship in their Chinese workers in order to produce them. So it doesn't even really develop the local economy that much. And then at the end of the day, you're left with entire ghost cities. So we've built all of this stuff, but there's absolutely no value in what has been built. So there is a limit, I think, to real estate development. And I think the world is starting to learn that you should not just take the Chinese money, because now you're on the hook for it. And yeah, we'll have to see. We'll also see about China's own real estate market is in a serious bubble right now, too. That's a story separate. That's out of my purview. Not ASEAN. But anyways, that'll do it for our stories today, guys. You can always go to thetiger.com to get more updates throughout the day about what's going on in Thailand. I also encourage you to go to ASEAN Now and join the forums over there. There's always all sorts of fun conversations, new updates coming from other areas of Southeast Asia, but also really fun community to be able to engage and talk with like-minded expats who are here in the region. So, yeah, anyways, that'll do it for our news today. We'll be back again with you guys all tomorrow. And for now, let's get into the comments and see how everybody's doing.